We spend hours searching for the exact morning routine, the precise productivity hack, the endless tutorials. We convince ourselves success requires mastering complicated rules. When we step into a new field and encounter systems we don't understand, imposter syndrome hits. We assume that because we don't know the proper terminology or the accepted methods, we are amateurs playing a game we cannot win. Leo Tolstoy captured this exact dynamic in a short story. He introduced an archbishop, the ultimate gatekeeper of the right way. This was a man wrapped in royal robes and golden crowns. He held the power to dictate who was recognized as a saint and who was a heretic. His entire life was built on memorizing and enforcing rigid texts. He represents a trap we all fall into, confusing the mastery of an institution's complex rules with actual mastery of the craft itself. Look at this space. This is the Archbishop's domain. It is ornate, intimidating, and built on centuries of approved methods. But despite all his perfect rituals, his church was completely empty. The congregation had vanished. Instead of attending his highly structured services, the people were walking miles to seek out 3 illiterate hermits. These hermits lived on the far side of a massive lake, entirely removed from the archbishop's jurisdiction and his strict oversight. Furious that his authority was bypassed, the archbishop, dressed in full regalia, grabbed his golden symbols of power and boarded a wooden boat. He was going to expose these frauds and force them to fall in line. When unregulated, unfiltered methods start getting results, the immediate instinct of an institutional gatekeeper is to shut them down. Crossing the lake, the archbishop finds no grand leaders. He finds simple, rugged people sitting quietly under a tree, completely devoid of institutional polish. He interrogates them and discovers they cannot even read. They do not own the heavy, dense texts of the faith, and they certainly haven't memorized the proper liturgies. When asked how they pray, they share an embarrassingly short, homemade chant. "You are 3, we are 3. Have mercy on us." This diagram illustrates a psychological trap known as complexity bias. This is the human tendency to assume that complex systems carry more weight and are naturally superior to simple ones. The archbishop falls right into this trap. Internally, he is delighted. He equates their raw simplicity with profound ignorance, confirming his own superiority. So he implements a fix. He spends the entire day forcing the hermits into a grueling memorization session, making them repeat the long, officially approved church prayer over and over until they get it right. Finally, they recite it back. The archbishop boards his boat and sails away into the night, immensely satisfied that he has restored proper institutional order. But halfway across the lake, shouting pets through the darkness. The boatman points behind them. The archbishop turns to see the 3 simple hermits literally sprinting across the surface of the deep water, moving as easily as if they were on solid ground. They reach the side of the boat in a panic, apologizing profusely. In their rush, they had already forgotten the complex words he spent all day teaching them. Their absolute, unpolished rules he worshipped were suddenly entirely irrelevant. The archbishop stares at the men standing on the water, and his hands go slack. The heavy, golden symbol of his authority slips from his fingers. In that moment, he realizes that his perfectly grammatical, beautifully structured, institutionally approved prayers hold 0 actual weight. They are empty. He bows down low in the boat. He tells them to forget everything he said, to ignore his complex teachings, and to simply go back to doing things their own way. True power and validity do not require an institution's stamp of approval. If the underlying belief and dedication are absolute, the method validates itself. Tolstoy wrote this as a universal philosophy about human output, not a literal religious fable. He was highlighting a distinction between the performance of a task and its essence. The hermits succeeded because their internal drive was so concentrated that the external procedure became secondary. We often get lost in the technical how-to, the business plan, the rigid syntax, the specific brushstrokes, and forget that these are merely tools meant to serve a core objective. Tolstoy's hermits didn't need a script
because their focus was so absolute it generated its own momentum. That same intensity often separates work that merely follows the rules from work that actually resonates with an audience. Operating with that level of pure intent allows a person to reach the point where the result transcends the very rules used to create it.